When Sony announced their plans to develop a new film based on the Lisbeth Salander novels written after the death of original author Stieg Larsson, I wasn't sure how I felt about it until they chose Fede Alvarez as their director. Alvarez knocked it out of the park with his reimagining of The Evil Dead and delivered a solid original thriller with Don't Breathe, so my hopes for The Girl in the Spider's Web were pretty high. In the film, Lisbeth Salander has made a name for herself, taking powerful and abusive men to task for their misdeeds, but gets herself into more trouble than she bargained for when she's hired to steal a top-secret piece of software, ultimately putting her in the crosshairs of not only a determined NSA special agent, but also a ruthless criminal organization that has ties to her shadowy past. One thing is abundantly clear from the second the opening credits start for The Girl in the Spider's Web. Sony wants this to be their answer to the 007 franchise, which they no longer have control of. A lot of liberties are taken with the source material to fit this mold, and the end result feels remarkably cheap, derivative, and ultimately hollow. So much of the film is spent setting up shots and set pieces that, while they look cool, add nothing to driving along the overall story of the film. To say nothing of the absurdity of Lisbeth's superphone, which can hack into pretty much anything. It doesn't even need to run on electricity. There's an app on Lisbeth's hacker phone that can just hack into any door, car, or device that just happens to be lying around, and it's kind of infuriating because it just makes everything so easy for her. There's like a legitimate indictment of logic and plausibility in The Girl in the Spider's Web that takes away a lot of the dramatic tension that audiences had come to love and appreciate about the original films, as well as David Fincher's one-off remake. Claire Foy's portrayal of Lisbeth Salander isn't bad, but there's nothing about it that makes the character feel as though she has any real past. There's an idea of Lisbeth Salander, but there's no real sense of history motivating us to care about her as a character. At the end of the day, this no longer feels like a world that could actually exist for characters like Lisbeth Salander and Mikkel Blomkvist to actually exist in. The Girl in the Spider's Web functions more like a Saturday morning cartoon based on the original Swedish films that was never made. It's a film that cares more about looking cool and raising the stakes to the point to where the fate of the world hangs in the balance, and Lisbeth Salander is now some sort of omniscient super spy. It cares more about that than it cares about telling an actual story, which is a shame because I feel like this property still has a lot of potential, but this just isn't the way to start a franchise, and Sony should know better.